to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I am a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I come here to talk about my experience, strength, and hope in order to help others. And in doing so, it helps me. So I'm here every day, and so we'll get started. Today's topic is rationalization versus intentional living. So I just woke up. I took a nap, and I don't know. I try all different things to see what's best for when I do my podcast. Today's experiment is because I want to know if my brain works better in this type of ad hoc talking if I just woke up, because I struggle with it at night, and it's still mid-afternoon, late afternoon. So we could still have issues, but we'll see. We'll see. I also like to do it in the daytime because then I can go to bed earlier. So enough about me. Okay. So rationalization versus intentional living. I want to talk about how the pause that I talk about all the time, the pause between our thoughts and our actions can make all the difference for us. I was talking in my morning meeting this morning about how irrational it seems like my mind is automatically irrational, and it's my job to pause before I act on irrational thoughts. I have to pause in order to shift my thoughts from irrational to rational, and that really is intentional living, right? So I want to talk about the importance of intentional living, what it means, and what the difference is between accepting your life and leading your life. And yeah, so let's get started. Rationalization. It's like lifting weights for me to shift my mindset from irrational to rational. It takes work. There's irrational drinking thinking, like I'm on an airplane and I'm thinking, nobody's here, nobody's gonna know. I'll be sober by the time I get by the time the plane lands. That kind of irrational thinking. The rational thinking is, if I take one drink, that could be the end of my life. That could mean death for me because I can't just stop with one drink. So I require that pause when something enters my mind that is irrational, or else I could reach for the drink, or I could have the answer yes to the flight attendant if she's like, can I offer you a glass of wine or something like that. There's also the on the ground, I've had a tough day, irrational thinking about drinking. But rationalization is really a barrier for our growth in recovery. Trying to overcome the lies that I'm telling myself that it's okay to drink, that it doesn't mean more to me than it's anybody else I see having a drink when they're traveling or having a drink when they come home from a tough day. And so that pause between irrational thoughts and responding rationally is is the difference between leading a sober, happy, and free life for me. And that's in both sobriety and stroke recovery. I can think, I rationalize all the time about why it's okay for me to do these things with my eyes, my head, or physically. Oh, it's not that bad. My head isn't that bad. I'll just look at this YouTube video. Or my head's not that bad. I'm gonna go an extra block with Evie when I go walking this afternoon, because that's what I want. I want to walk further. I want to watch this video on YouTube. And I talk all the time about turning off my wanter. I have to live with a switch on my wanter. And I have to be able to consciously turn it on and off. Because I am able now, after 8 years of sobriety, and I'm continuing to learn how that wanter of mine is irrational. So by pausing, I give myself space to choose how I'm going to respond to myself. And this pause allows me to reflect and make a decision that aligns with my recovery. Instead of succumbing to an urge, an immediate urge, or my wanter. And I'm able to think about long-term consequences. Thinking about long-term consequences, if I drink, I will die. It doesn't have to be negative all the time, though. I don't have to stop myself from drinking with negativity. And I don't have to stop myself from doing things I love in stroke recovery with negativity either. I can use the benefits in order to stay sober. I can, instead of thinking, if I drink, I will die, I can think, if I don't drink, I get to go outside and enjoy the world a little bit deeper than I normally do. The same with stroke recovery, the benefits of not doing the things that I want to do in stroke recovery that hurt my head. If I don't do this today, if I don't watch this YouTube video, I'll be able to garden this evening when the sun goes behind the clouds or starts to set. So there is a positive way to shift the mindset and turn off my wanter. It doesn't always have to be negative. I don't always have to be stopping myself from experiencing what I would consider joy. It's the next right thing. I'm choosing the next right thing instead of my wanter. And then what comes out in the wash is a gift that I couldn't imagine at that time, that I was answering my immediate urge. So how do we move from that rationalization or turning off our wanter to intentional living, to being able to make decisions based on long-term consequences, long-term joy and benefits, we need to move from accepting our life. Sorry, my dogs are right here. Autumn, quiet. Accepting our lives to actively leading our lives. And this means making deliberate choices that support our overall well-being. So this is something that's funny today. Quiet, no barking during podcast airing. Um, so this morning I went to a 7 a.m. meeting and an 8 a.m. meeting, and both, this is hilarious to me, but bizarre. In both meetings, somebody quoted Mike Tyson. And I thought, who would have thought Mike Tyson is our leader? Maybe Mike Tyson needs to run for president. I mean, I don't usually talk politics here, but somebody needs to step up. Anyway, I don't know if he's still living. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to show. Oh, yeah, that's OJ. Is OJ still living? Oh dear. I need to just check my facts here. Okay, so anyway, I think Mike Tyson's still living. Mike Tyson somebody said in my first meeting, doing stuff you don't want to do and doing it like you love it is a way to change your mindset, to shift your mindset at the time that you are trying to figure out how to turn off your wanter. So embracing tasks and challenges in our lives with a positive attitude, even when they're difficult. What goes on in my brain is kind of funny. I'm pretty fun to hang out with, me, myself, and I. I'm not going to lie. And it didn't used to be, that might seem cocky, but I like myself. And it didn't used to be that way. For the longest time when I was growing up, I used to tell my mom that I was bored. And I've shared that with you guys before. But I don't get bored. At least I haven't lately. I'm having a good couple days and I've got so many projects working. It's ridiculous. Oh, update on the maple syrup bottle. I don't think I've updated you that I have the moss now. I went out and foraged the moss. So there you have it. Anyway, I'm drying flowers in the bathroom. I've got so many things going on. And why? Because I turn off my wanter constantly. The rationalization of doing things on the computer, digital devices, going outside, going hiking, going to the pool, those things that I try to rationalize and say, it's okay if you just do a little bit more, because it's not okay. I've done it time and time again over the past year. It's not okay for me to do more than what I know is best for my physical well-being. And when I affect my physical well-being, when my head starts hurting in a way that is debilitating, then my mental state starts breaking apart. And life gets more difficult, and it's pretty fast how that happens. So I'm trying to articulate what it is that happens in that beautiful little brain of mine. I try to immediately think of something that would be really fun to do. So I've got another terrarium that is sitting by the wayside waiting for me. And I have a design for it and everything. I don't have a design for this terrarium, my maple syrup bottle terrarium. I'm still trying to think it through in my head. But the other one, I have a design ready for it. But I have that terrarium on the side for a reason, because it has a pretty cool design idea. And I want to be able to switch over to it in an emergency, in a mental emergency, when I feel like my mental state is breaking down, when I need to feed a positive attitude. I have that sitting there waiting for me. I have a couple other things. You guys, if you go to my website and you look at my upcycling projects, I think the name of the tab on the website, recoverydailypodcast.com, the tab is called Upcycle. And I made a basket out of a bunch of workout shirts. No, they weren't stinky. I didn't work out in them. But they were not terribly comfortable for me, and I was going to donate them to Goodwill. Instead, I cut them into strips and made a basket out of them. So I actually have several pink shirts, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, and make a pink basket. All of this stuff, I do have a master plan. The master plan is to create a store online for, or go to craft fairs or something to show off and sell, if I could, my upcycling projects, and all in the name of recovery. So that's the cat's out of the bag. That's what I've been doing. But these are ideas that help feed my positive attitude. I have to have, in this phase of my life and this phase of my recovery, I have to have things to switch to when I'm starting to get troubled, because it's really easy for me to get frustrated that my life is different than the way I wanted it to be. Right? So intentional living in this phase of my life is about putting my recovery first. And when I prioritize my recovery, everything else falls into place. And I heard somebody say that this morning. You put your sobriety first, plan your life around your sobriety, everything falls into place. And it does. It's really difficult to stay sober when your sobriety isn't what your life surrounds. If you're trying to fit your sobriety into your life, it's a lot harder to stay sober than it is to fit your life into sobriety. I hope that all came out in the right way. I think it did. So it's like building a strong foundation for your house, without a strong foundation, the house is not going to stand. And it's just like this. These hobbies for me, without a career, because I had to leave my job because of my disability, these hobbies for me are becoming a foundation of my recovery that allows me to maintain a positive attitude, feel like I have purpose, so that all the other aspects of my life does not crumble, because it's so easy for that to happen. Another important aspect of rationalization is considering the deception of others. And what I heard this morning about the deception of others was that it stems from the deception of ourselves. That when we're not honest with ourselves about our own struggles and weaknesses. I don't like that word. I don't like that even coming out of my mouth. I know why, because over the years I've had a certain individual tell me that I was weak, and that's just, it was really, really difficult for me to relearn that I was not a weak person. But if I am honest about my struggles, I'm not going to deceive others, Recovery is all about being honest. I can't get help if I'm not honest with myself. And being honest with myself then allows me to be honest with others. It works from the inside out. And I have always lived from the outside in, always. Um, it's interesting. And I didn't know that it worked from the inside out until I started working on the inside, working at the core. And mine started with my dark place. My dark place that I talk about frequently, where all my yucky stuff can hide and grow. The place that I cleaned out when I got sober, but still sometimes houses some negative stuff. That dark place is what can grow and just completely just throw honesty out the window for me. So I need to completely keep that dark place empty so that I can be honest, I can be rational, I can pause. I have time, I have the serenity in my life to think rationally. That serenity is so important to be able to think rationally in order to build stronger connections outside of myself and have a stronger recovery as well. Another thing that we talked about in my morning meetings, man, I have a lot of topics that I talked about in my morning meetings, but others are these sober firsts. So this was in my second meeting, and I did not take note of the second Mike Tyson quote, but it was really maybe an evidence bag thing. I don't know how that could be an evidence bag other than um, just saying, here's a joke for you. I'm going to keep talking about Mike Tyson today. I'm going to expose you to Mike Tyson all day long, Rachel. That's what my higher power is doing with me today. We joke, me and my higher power, we joke around, but in the second meeting, we were talking about going through firsts and how these initial experiences that we face in sobriety that used to involve alcohol now can be very challenging without alcohol, like a first holiday party, a first trip on an airplane for work, the first time that I went out to eat at a restaurant with my spouse, or the first happy hour that I went to. All of these places or firsts, are times that rationalization can creep in, and it can be risky to my sobriety, but it's important that I do them anyway. I might think I used to drink at this event. I mean, obviously, I used to drink at every freaking event I was at and every non-event. I was constantly drinking. That's what my story is like. But I may rationalize and think, oh, I got hammered at this last time. Maybe I can just have one. And that is not true. And I have found that when I participate in my firsts in sobriety, it acts as, again, back to that foundation, it adds another chunk to my foundation. Actually, I would say it hardens my foundation so that it can carry me through. My house stands really firmly on the ground. My sobriety stands firmly on these firsts because I am able to say, okay, I did this once. And that's all it takes. It only takes that I do it one time. My dog's eating trash now. It only takes one time for me to do something and sober, and I can say, okay, I did it once, now I can do it a zillion times. I'm able to prove that to myself, and going through it sober for the first time, I'm able to kind of take notes, put it in my pocket that, oh, I actually had fun. I really didn't think that was going to happen. There's a peace and a joy that runs much deeper when I participate in these things that I used to do drunk without the preoccupation of obsessing with alcohol. I am able to fully engage and participate in these experiences. So it's all really a ripple effect, it starts with a pause. I'm telling you, that is really makes all the difference to be able to start with standing silence, being able to reflect within that space so that you can say, is this choice supporting my recovery or not? And that's stroke or sobriety. It allows us to be honest with ourselves, and there is a bravery that emerges. There's that word that my boss used to use all the time. There is a braveness that emerges, that I just didn't know I had. I didn't know I was this courageous. I did not. Um, I had no idea, no plans ever to start a podcast. Never. But it, I don't know how to explain it. I was called to do it. I don't know what happened. I lost my job, and I, without even thinking, reached out to my brother and I said, please start a podcast account for me. I can't do it because I can't use my eyes right now, but I can use my voice. And that was it. Then I was off to the races. And now I've been doing it for over a year. This month, the beginning of this month was a year of me doing this. I've really only missed a handful of days due to symptoms, and it seems like I'm feeling that way more and more lately. But I think what I'm feeling more and more lately is giving myself permission to take a day off. It's funny. That's how I used to work. I would never take a day off. On Saturday mornings, I would put together a report for my boss that I could have done during the week, but it was easier. And I liked the time on Saturday mornings to think through. I was a director, I had to think through each person's responsibilities, how they all affect each other. Is there some way that I can be helping each of them a little more? Like, it really gave me some time, talk about space. It gave me some time to think through my entire department and how we can get started, hit the ground running on Monday. So I don't know. I'm an overachiever. I think we've already established that here. So yeah, I think moving from rationalization to intentional living through the pause is a shift in your recovery that you will notice over time, but it takes consistency. Pausing, reflecting, being honest with yourself, celebrating firsts, celebrating when you notice that, hey, I was thinking in an unhealthy way. I took a pause and I acted on the next right thing rather than my wanter. And at the end, what squeezed out of the end is prioritization of my recovery. And that can only lead to a life that is free. That is free from so many things, free from addiction, free from depression, free from anxiety, free from a lot of those invisible illnesses that can take our lives from us, and can fill us, living in this way, this intentional living can fill us with a deeper peace and joy. That's been my experience, and I'm gonna keep working on it. And my dog's getting ready to lose her shit. So, thank you for joining me today. And if you enjoyed the episode, please share it with somebody that you know. The best way that the community can grow is to talk about it with other people. And I'm getting brave, and I'm going to start posting it on my personal social media accounts, which I typically don't do. I created a Recovery Daily Podcast social media account in order to split up the podcast from my personal, but the podcast is my life. I mean, this is my life right now. And the purpose of it is to help other people. And I've got a lot more followers on my personal accounts. And I am quite certain that there are, unfortunately, a significant percentage of those that need to hear what I have to say. Yeah. So reach out to me, please, if you have questions, if I can be supportive for you, or if you have any suggestions for the podcast. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.